Namaskar. How are you, my dear friends? We are meeting on this YouTube channel, Krishna Rao Speaks. We are just 3 4 months old on this social platform. We are together, you and myself, are exploring life and looking at the possibilities. At the same time, we are also inquiring into why is our life like this, in the sense the suffering which we created in this world, the way we subject ourselves to suffering, and at the same time, we also share liberally our personal suffering with others. When it comes to joy, ecstasy, or happiness, we limit that to ourselves, or maybe share that with our closest and dearest ones, whom we call as our own family members or relatives, and a few selective people. Now, something is basically wrong with human life. It is man who has to do something for himself, not only for himself and for the people living around, and also the flora and fauna, the nature that is around oneself. Man has, immense responsibility to discharge towards himself, his fellow beings, and the nature. This is we forget. We tend to live for ourselves. Most of the time, we confine our activities for our own progress, or we call it as the progress of the family. What about the welfare of the society then? What about the welfare of the animals, the flora, the fauna that is there on this earth? Because we are the caretakers of this treasure. We have to protect, we have to utilize these resources very carefully and cautiously and ensure that we leave this treasure to the post coming generations, the generations which will be there on this planet Earth after we leave this body. When we go into this question, what strikes me is we are not asking proper questions perhaps in our life, but we are seeking answers endlessly. And most of these answers are pertaining to, related to our cravings, our pleasures. The most relevant question one must ask to begin with is, why am I like this? But surprisingly, man asked other questions which are confusing, like who am I? That question has no relevance at all. Suppose you pose this question to yourself, who are you? Then naturally you say, you find your body. Oh, am I this body? Then that's what most of the people think. Maybe one in a million thinks that there is something other than this body. So naturally, one is trying to satisfy the needs, the cravings of this physical entity, this body. We got to ask this question, why am I like this? Then there is room for correction. There is room for modification of our behavior. There is room for progress. There is scope for rebuilding our life. Already we built this life, but when we raise this question, ask this question, then we change this. Whatever that has been built by us, now we remodel it. We add and we delete. Certain deletions and additions are required to make our life holistic, all comprising, wherein we have room, we created room for everything. Everything fits in there, not just this solitary person, just this solitary life, single life. Then why does a man remain throughout his life as an accumulator? We all studied in school that the earlier man, the primitive man, was a hunter gatherer, and he just lived to collect food. He just lived like a beast, like an animal, simply fulfilling his instinctive behavior, the basic instincts that what he lived for, just to satisfy his basic instincts, whether you call it as hunger, sex, or his own security. Now comes in what way the modern man, after millions of years of culture and civilization which we uh, collectively built, the modern man is the same. He is also an accumulator, a gatherer. Now, modern man is a gadget gatherer. He goes on adding gadgets to his life, one after the other, one after the other, endlessly. So it is again continuation of the same old pattern of gathering in some other way. So what I do, I compete with you now because I want to have more. Then another thing is man remained as an imitator. He just follows the footsteps of his predecessors, his forefathers. The way they lived, he continues to live in similar way. So where is the maturity? Can I be different from my ancestors? Can I prevent myself from doing the same blunders, mistakes which were committed by my elders? Do I have, do people have the capacity to change themselves without being told? Nobody tells you how to be and how to lead a life. Now that leads lot of introspection, lot of self-questioning. When we question our own acts and understand the relationships, because without relationships we cannot really sustain or live, because life becomes meaningless. We are related to the nature, we are a byproduct of the nature, we are related to our people, fellow beings. So the only way to understand myself is seeing the results of my actions. What is the result of my actions? What impact has it created on not only myself but on people who are around me and also the nature? We are crying over destruction of nature, we are saying global warming, that and this. There's a lot of scientific knowledge that we gathered, we know them as facts, but we never corrected, we never did any action, progressive action, collectively to prevent disasters in life. There are personal disasters, there are social disasters, there are certain disasters which are universal. So, understanding, most of the people say that close your eyes, meditate, by that you understand. There is no meaning in closing your eyes and sitting for hours together, because the only way to understand yourself, the real self, is by looking at your actions. For God's sake, please understand this. What am I doing? My language, my verbatim, my speech, my acts, and what is the net impact of my actions on the society and the people. Now, for this, self-regulation is required. You regulate your acts now because you are correcting yourself, you went on changing yourself. It is not perfecting yourself, in fact, it is going on changing your approach to life, where you just do not limit your activities just for the sake and welfare of your own self, for your own progress individually, but it is a comprehensive action, a complete action which includes everybody in it, wherein you don't harm anybody directly or indirectly. Self-regulation is the key. You never go out of hand. Then comes the discipline. The very word discipline, when you go to the root of it, it says learning. Discipulus means learning. You are learning from everywhere and you are eliminating all that negativity, all that is harmful, which is there in your body, in your mind, which comes out, which unfolds in the form of your actions. So finally, we have to mend our actions to build a harmonious society. So, who am I is the right thing, the right question to be asked, which leads to modification of behavior, a dynamic change in our approach to life, and finally, which brings harmony and development in real sense, progress in real sense to ourselves and to the world. Please look into it, comment, share this with your friends. This is basically to explore life, not to gather subscriptions. Please share liberally and also debate in the form of comments. Contribute. Namaskar.